Hey, welcome back to my channel. I'm Chloe and I talk about astrology, numerology, and all things spiritual and metaphysical. So, Scorpio season begins October 23rd and ends November 22nd. Yes, Halloween, that's Scorpio season. This season is the fall. It's a time for deep emotional introspection, exploring the depths and mysteries of life. It's a time to embrace and welcome change, as well as a great time to forge deeper, more meaningful connections with others. So Scorpio is a fixed water sign ruled by Mars and Pluto. Scorpio naturally rules the 8th house in the zodiacal wheel. It is the 8th sign, resonant with 8 energy in numerology. So there's 4 seasons, there's 4 fixed signs: Aquarius, Leo, Scorpio, and Taurus. All of the fixed signs, and I think I said ending earlier when I said this season ends, it actually is in the middle of fall. So all the fixed signs, they're dead in the middle. They are the peak of each season. Times where the season is at its peak. It's not at the beginning stage, it's not at the end, it's right in the middle. And that's what the fixed signs are. They're right in the middle. So fixed energy, personality-wise, is stubborn, very determined, very single-minded, focused, diligent. Fixed energy is as it sounds. It is fixed. It can be fixated on each element. So for instance, Scorpio is a water sign. So a lot of times Scorpio energy is fixed on water, which is the element of emotion and imagination. These people oftentimes can get caught up in having fixed emotions and fixations in their mind. If their mind tells them something, they can take that and run with it very far. Back to fixed signs in general, they are very determined, see it through type of people. They are the type of people that will start things, but also will finish things. More often than not, they finish what they start. They're very strong-willed and determined individuals. So when you think of fixed water is like a well water, because that water is not going anywhere. That water is at the bottom, which is also ruled by Scorpio. Scorpio rules all things deep, hidden beneath the earth. Pluto, actually, being Scorpio's planetary ruler, rules all things that are deep and hidden. So does Scorpio. With that being said, fixed water is like any water that is stuck in the same spot, immovable. A lot of times immovable water is murky and kind of gross, allowing for things to grow within that, like swamp like you see a lot of moss and algae and all that growing from these fixed water sources. So fixed water could be an iceberg. Fixed water can be any water that is fixed, set, and not moving. Scorpio is one of the signs that are ruled by 2 planets. Planet number 1 being Mars, that is the traditional ruler. It's the planet of anger, aggression, passion. It can show your work ethic, your ambitions. It is your driving force. It is your primal energy as well. Mars is the planet of sex as well. Scorpio is also the sign concerned with sex, because the body parts that are ruled by Scorpio are actually the reproductive organs and the genitals. So the second planet that Scorpio is ruled by is Pluto, and that's the modern rulership. Pluto represents transformation and change. So does Scorpio. Pluto has the ability to bring to light things that are hidden in the depths of your subconscious. Your traumas. Pluto can often be seen as the planet of trauma. Pluto is seen as the planet of death and rebirth. Something having to die, whether it be physically or metaphorically, in order to be reborn and evolved or changed into something else, whether good or bad. Pluto also deals with domination and control. A lot of times you see Pluto first house individuals being in their lower vibrations very controlling and domineering. And Scorpio can be this as well. So Pluto essentially rules all things hidden, whether it be literally hidden or like subconsciously hidden, like things hidden underground, things that are buried underground, anything that is buried or hidden, detective work, anything that is hidden, any taboo subjects that people really don't like to talk about, sex, death, occult. Those are some things that Pluto is associated with. Back to Scorpio being a water sign. There are 3 water signs: Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. Water is the element of the emotion and the imagination. All the water signs are deemed for being emotional, very emotional, because they are not only picking up on the emotions of others, but they are also dealing with a lot more emotions than the average person. Like, let's say if you lack water in your chart, you're not an empathic person. You're not a very sensitive person. You don't understand other people's emotions. You don't really speak that language, right? Because you lack it. Whereas someone with a lot of Scorpio, Cancer, or Pisces in their chart, they are very empathetic. They feel the energy of other people. They're very in touch with their own emotions. They know why it is they feel the way they do, if they want to know why they feel the way they do. Because a lot of times when it comes to emotions in lower vibrations, let's say you get triggered by something and maybe you lash out because of it. In a lower vibration, that can be water energy. But in a higher, more evolved vibration, you're able to understand emotion at a deep level and are able to work with and through your emotions. It really just depends on the person and where you are at in your journey in this incarnation. So the symbol for Scorpio is a sneaky, secretive, deadly animal. The scorpion that poisons its enemies, preys on their enemies, and subdues their prey with venom. The scorpion has a tough outer shell, and it's primarily active at night. I don't know if you would call the scorpion nocturnal because they are out during the day as well. Yeah, so I guess they're not nocturnal. I don't know. I didn't do my research on that part. I do know that they are primarily active at night though, and that they use their poison to kill and to defend themselves. The glyph for Scorpio, and I'll show you right here, right now. It has like a little stinger tail, kind of like a little devil's tail, or even a scorpion tail. But it can also be seen as a representation of the reproductive organs. The M being like the uterus, and the tail being like a pecker. Don't know if I can say the other word, so I'm just gonna say that. But the tail can also suggest an aim higher than oneself, toward higher consciousness, an aim towards the spiritual, the heavens. Scorpio, its natural house is the 8th house, which is, it deals with a lot of things, but just to keep it simple, the 8th house deals with other people's money. It also deals with intimacy and soul merging. It's one of the deepest houses, and the deepest houses are the 4th house, the 8th house, and the 12th house. If you have a lot of planets in those areas of your chart, but you lack water, you are not an insensitive person, so to speak, because those are the water houses, and so you have that energy in you. You may not have Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces in your chart, but if you have planets residing in the 4th, 8th, or 12th house, then you have those energies, because those are the natural houses for the water signs, the deepest houses in our birth charts. A few things that are ruled by Scorpio. So Scorpio is the sign that rules over psychology, psychiatry. It rules over magic, occultism, sewers, anything underground, cold-blooded species or reptiles. It rules over recycling, the restroom, the toilet, anything that's coming out of your body like vomit, poo, sweat. It rules over all the nastiness, all of the things that are being recycled out of your body. Any type of recycling, Scorpio rules over. It rules over investigative works, detection, money, and death. Lots of other things as well, but those are just some things to throw out there that they rule over. So Scorpio actually has 3 symbols. It's one of the special signs. And people can range, like if you're a Scorpio, Sun, Moon, Rising, Mercury, Venus, Mars, if you've got a lot of Scorpio energy, if you have Scorpio energy in your top 5 planets, you can fluctuate from any of these 3 symbols throughout your life. It's not like a set in stone type of thing to where you're the Scorpio in the first 20 years of your life. Second half of your life, you're the Eagle, and then the last part of your life, you're the Phoenix. You may never even be the Phoenix or the Eagle, which highly doubt because I have Scorpio energy and so I know it very well. And yeah, I think it fluctuates throughout certain periods and cycles in your life. So at this one point in time, maybe you're the Scorpion, maybe you're the Eagle, maybe you're the Phoenix. But there's no set in stone where are you at right now in life type of thing, because it depends on your life. It depends on the things you're going through and how you're handling it and whatnot. But I want to talk to you a little bit about the symbols, the symbolism of them. So in the Scorpion stage, this stage represents the lowest and most primal form of Scorpio energy, dealing with the root chakra. They tend to be really connected to their root chakra. This is a primal Scorpio energy, the on edge, life and death, all or nothing energy. Just like an actual Scorpion, Scorpios will sting anytime that they feel threatened while they're in this stage. At this stage, protective energy runs deep, and so do their emotions, often hiding their sensitivities behind a tough outer shell. This is a Scorpio energy that is so much more sensitive than the other stages because they haven't evolved past their emotion, and they're prone to power games, jealousy, skepticism, and fear. This stage is centered around defensiveness and survival. The Eagle stage is all about a higher, more refined expression of Scorpio. This is the point to where Scorpios have evolved past lower instincts. The Eagle symbolizes vision, liberation, and discipline. Scorpios are more self-actualized, they're more aware of themselves, and they're more strategic in their ways of being. They tend to be better able to see things from a higher perspective, which makes their actions more wise and meaningful, embarking into more constructive aims. Scorpios here at this stage are more concerned with growth, true strength, honing their intuition, and enlightening themselves and others from darker aspects. The Phoenix being a symbol of rebirth and transformation, rising from the ashes. Scorpios at this stage have mastered the art of letting go and embracing change no matter how difficult. They have risen from their ashes more resilient and much wiser than ever before. They start to begin to understand the cycles of death and rebirth, birth, death, and rebirth. They embody resilience and the power of transformation and change. And they tend to have a much more positive impact on others and spark more positive change in the world. So you can be, if you're a Scorpio, if you have Scorpio energy, you can be anywhere on the spectrum of those cycles. You can be, maybe you're in your Scorpion era, maybe you're in your Eagle era or your Phoenix era, and maybe you've already been in your Phoenix era multiple times throughout your life. It really just depends on you. All 3 of those cycles are the energy and embodiment of Scorpio on different levels, and everyone has levels to them. It just depends where you are. Where do you think you are on your level? I would love to know. I would love for you to interact with me and leave me a comment down below. I love hearing about your story, and tell me why. Tell me, why do you think you're on that certain Scorpio level, sorry. I just like assumed you're a Scorpion. You may be an eagle or a phoenix. And if you don't know, that's okay. That's okay too. It's just interesting to view it from those perspectives. Some shadow sides of Scorpio is that they can be very controlling and domineering. They can be very vicious, resentful, or vindictive, especially when they're hurt. They can be very sensitive and easily wounded. They can be controlling and domineering, possessive, greedy, demanding, and cruel. So this is actually the more challenging signs to have, because they go through so many changes and transformations in their life, and they deal with a lot of death, whether literally or metaphorically. They're constantly dealing with death and rebirth. And so this can be very challenging to have Scorpio or a lot of Scorpio energy in your chart. The reason they may be controlling, possessive, and greedy is because Scorpio rules money, and it also rules other people's money. I'm throwing these shadow traits out there for you to take the information and do with it as you will. I'm just providing you the information. I'm not telling you about yourself. You know yourself better than me. I'm feeling called to say that I'm a Scorpio rising with Scorpio, Mercury, and Venus in my first house, as well as having 2 8th house planets and like 4 or 5 asteroids in Scorpio in my first house. So I get all of this on a deep level. If you feel bad for yourself, which you shouldn't, because you are literally the embodiment of the Phoenix, and you have the power to transform and change yourself into anything you want, but you just have to go into the depths. You have to go into the depths of yourself and heal from the things that you've been through in life. And I bet you haven't had it easy. But anyways, some more shadow sides of Scorpio is that they can be secretive or selfish by manipulating others to get what they want. And they could be secretive and selfish, point blank, period. But they could also do it in a way that is manipulative. They can be manipulative to get what they want. They can tend to use other people in order to get what they want. They also can go to the extreme. So Scorpio does nothing halfway. It's usually all or nothing, especially if you're in that Scorpion era. That's what I'm gonna call it. Extreme. They feel everything extreme. They do everything extreme. They are extreme. And it can be very negative at times in their life, especially if they're overly like sensitive, overly angry, demanding. Like, for instance, like maybe a Scorpio's partner doesn't want to talk about something, but a Scorpio is going to be like demanding and controlling about it. They're going to be like at the lower vibration of it, the shadow side of it. They're going to be like, no, we're going to talk about it right here, right now, because I said so. And they can be that way. And so it's important to be aware of this if you have this energy, or if you're working with someone who has this energy, because awareness is a strength and power like no other, honestly. On a more negative side of being a Scorpio, is that they can be super paranoid and skeptical about or of others. They can be very mistrusting to things and people that they don't know about, and even people that they do know and are familiar with. They can be very paranoid, thinking people are always out to get them, or thinking that people have ulterior motives. And like I just mentioned, Scorpios can have a tendency to push the boundaries of other people. So those are some shadow sides of Scorpio. Can be a very, very dark sign if they're not healing themselves and self-reflecting and working on the things that they want to change about themselves. Can be very dark energy to work with. But some strengths that they possess, and they possess so many, is that they're not easily swayed by other people. They stand their ground. They're very disciplined and very controlled. They are some of the most disciplined and controlled people. And they can be very powerful because of that. People can look up to them because of their discipline, of the ability to stand in their own power. They are some of the most strongest people when it comes to mental ability, because these people can study for hours. They can focus for hours. They have an intense focus about them. They can hone in on anything that they are interested in or invested in. It rules over investigation, investigative works, and uncovering the depths of things. It rules over depth. They are the deepest sign in the zodiac, I believe. Another strength of theirs is their sex appeal. They're very charismatic. They can be some of the most charismatic people. They may not be the most charming people to where they win you over with their words of affection, but they are very charismatic and they lure people in. They draw people in. They are very magnetic and very attractive in a way that's like sexy. They have the sex appeal about them. They're in touch with their deepest desires and needs. Oftentimes, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, Scorpios, they know what they want. They know how they want it, when they want it. They are very in touch with what they want and often put the effort in to go and get it. They do the work. Very hardworking, and they're in touch with their sexual nature. But for the most part, Scorpios are very tapped into their root chakra. They're very tapped into their survival, and they know they need to do something, and they know they're powerful. So a lot of times they put in a lot of work in order to be something great. Scorpios are not afraid about speaking of topics that are taboo, that normal people maybe don't like talking about. They have the courage and strength to say the things that other people are not willing to say. They're very courageous. Scorpios are very deep and powerful. The energy itself, like just being in the energy of a Scorpio person, sparks change and has healing and transformative powers. Sparks change in themselves and in others around them. Like they can literally change other people's life. Just the energy in itself of being there in the atmosphere of Scorpio energy person. They have the ability to transform people. And how to spot a Scorpio is they usually have very piercing eyes that tend to like see straight through you. How to spot a Scorpio rising, and I don't know if you can tell when you can't, but Scorpio rising people tend to have this ring around their eye, giving their eye lots of depth. Now, you don't have to be a Scorpio rising to have the ring around your eye. Maybe not all Scorpio risings do. The ones that I've met do though, and it's very interesting. The depth that gives their eyes is that outer ring, that darker coloring around the color of their eye. Also, Scorpios tend to be introverted, and well, Scorpio sun people are a little different. They just are, rather than the Scorpio Mercury or Scorpio moon or Scorpio rising. But they tend to be more introverted, and so they can come off as like quite secretive because they're not giving you a lot to work with. They're not talking a lot. They're very quiet. They're observing. Scorpio has immense observational skills, and so they see and hear everything. Like they're taking in everything. They're even taking in the things that you're not saying. Though, yeah, they're like the kings and queens of reading between the lines. Yeah, so you just spot them because they tend to have lots of energy. Their physical stamina is good, and they have piercing eyes. They could be secretive, and they usually, more often than not, wear darker clothes. They have tattoos, different colored hair, piercings. Not always, but more often than not, they do. And so those are some ways that you can spot a Scorpio. Also, they say how to spot a Scorpio rising is if their nose goes down and they have this like hook like this eagle's beak is what they call it. I don't really think I have that, but I hear that. So it's just information to throw out there. But yeah, I think that's all I'm gonna go over for today. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. Please let me know down in the comments down below. I would love, 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 love to hear from you guys. I would love to know what kind of content you think you'd like to see me make. It really sparks me. It really makes me motivated to make content. And so, yeah, thank you for watching. Bye.